Few people could have imagined that the same man who once created unforgettable moments on the football field would eventually discover his greatest peace not in victory, but in silence. Roger Staubach spent years standing beneath roaring stadium lights, carrying the hopes of teammates, coaches, and millions of fans upon his shoulders. Yet behind the image of confidence and leadership lived someone quietly searching for balance, humility, and inner calm. His life became more than the story of an athlete. It became a gentle meditation on character, resilience, and learning how to protect the soul while living inside a noisy world. When the thunderous cheers inside the stadium faded into memory, very few people noticed the unusual stillness Roger carried within himself. Even during the most chaotic moments of competition, there was something grounded about him, as if part of him existed somewhere untouched by pressure. To the public, he appeared fearless and composed, the kind of leader capable of remaining calm while everything around him seemed ready to collapse. But that calmness was not something he was simply born with. It was shaped slowly through years of discipline, setbacks, patience, and reflection. Football in his era was brutal, both physically and emotionally. Every game demanded toughness. Every mistake was magnified beneath public scrutiny. Yet Roger approached the intensity differently from many around him. Before crucial plays, while crowds roared and tension filled the air, he often paused for a brief moment to breathe deeply and steady his thoughts. Those small moments of quiet focus became invisible anchors in the middle of chaos. Over time he realized that true strength was not about overpowering fear. Real strength came from remaining centered while fear existed. He learned how to move through pressure without allowing it to consume him entirely. That ability shaped not only his career, but also the person he would eventually become after the spotlight disappeared. Despite his success, Roger never seemed entirely comfortable being the center of attention. Fame surrounded him constantly, yet he remained deeply drawn toward quieter spaces away from public noise. He valued conversations that carried sincerity rather than performance. He protected his personal life carefully, understanding how easy it was for constant attention to pull people away from themselves. On the field he played for something larger than himself. Leadership, teamwork, and responsibility mattered deeply to him. But away from football, he searched for another kind of fulfillment, one rooted not in achievement, but in peace. He began understanding that while competition could sharpen the mind, stillness was what healed the spirit. The pressures of leadership also carried emotional weight few people recognized. Being seen as dependable meant others often expected him to remain steady no matter what he felt internally. Yet there were nights when exhaustion settled deeply into him. There were moments of uncertainty, frustration, and quiet loneliness hidden behind composed expressions. During those times, he learned the importance of stepping away from noise and reconnecting with himself through reflection and silence. As years passed, the discipline he developed during football slowly transformed into something gentler. The intense focus once used to read defenses and command games evolved into mindfulness, patience, and emotional clarity. He became increasingly aware that life moved too quickly when people spent all their energy chasing external validation. Achievement alone could never create lasting peace. When retirement finally arrived, many wondered whether he would struggle without the structure and adrenaline of professional sports. Yet Roger transitioned differently than many athletes. Rather than clinging desperately to the identity fame had given him, he quietly embraced a slower rhythm of life. Stepping away from football felt less like losing himself and more like returning to himself. Without the constant roar of crowds surrounding him, he discovered a deeper appreciation for ordinary moments. Time spent with family became sacred. Quiet mornings carried new meaning. Reading beside warm light, walking outdoors, listening carefully during conversations, these simple experiences slowly became the foundation of his peace. He no longer needed applause to confirm his worth because he had already established a sense of identity independent from public admiration. He also dedicated himself to helping others. The leadership skills once used on the field found new purpose through mentorship, service, and generosity. He understood that influence carried responsibility. Instead of chasing attention, he chose to invest his energy into creating stability and encouragement for the people around him. There was humility in the way he approached life after football, a calm understanding that fulfillment grows quietly rather than dramatically. What made Roger especially respected was not only his success, but the consistency of his character. Whether speaking after victory or defeat, he carried himself with honesty and restraint. He never seemed interested in building a larger-than-life image. Instead, he focused on remaining grounded. Those qualities became even more meaningful with age. As the years continued, the wisdom he gained through experience slowly turned him into a source of reassurance for others navigating difficult seasons of life. He often spoke about the importance of facing oneself honestly during quiet moments. According to him, true courage was not found only in dramatic acts of heroism. Sometimes courage meant sitting alone in silence and accepting the person staring back at you without judgment or disguise. This philosophy was simple, but deeply powerful. He believed everyone needed moments each day free from distraction, moments quiet enough to hear their own thoughts and heartbeat clearly. In a world constantly demanding attention and movement, Roger understood the importance of pause. Stillness, he believed, was not weakness. It was restoration. Watching others find calm through his example brought him a kind of satisfaction greater than any championship celebration ever had. Athletic victories created excitement, but emotional peace carried something deeper and more lasting. He realized that while trophies eventually gather dust, kindness, humility, and inner steadiness continue shaping lives long after stadium lights dim. Late at night, he still occasionally remembered those cold evenings on the field, the pressure of impossible situations, the intensity of competition. Yet when he reflected on those memories now, he no longer focused primarily on victories or statistics. Instead, he remembered the importance of remaining true to himself amid enormous expectations. That became the real achievement hidden beneath the public story. The regrets he once carried softened over time. The pressures he could not always express eventually transformed into understanding. Age gave him perspective, teaching him that peace does not come from perfection. It comes from accepting life fully, including its failures, uncertainties, and unfinished moments. Today, Roger Staubach's story continues to resonate because it reminds people that greatness and gentleness can coexist. A person can be disciplined without becoming hardened. A leader can remain humble. Strength can exist alongside compassion and calm. His life stands as quiet proof that the most meaningful victories are often invisible to the outside world. And as his story settles softly into the silence of night, there remains the comforting image of a man who once stood in the center of roaring stadiums, now sitting peacefully in stillness, breathing slowly while the world rushes onward around him. In that stillness exists a reminder for all of us to protect some small corner of peace within ourselves, no matter how loud life becomes.